So let me ask you this first question. Can you define the concept of a safe space? What does that really mean?
So I guess for me, like what I think a safe space is a space you can get anywhere, right? So in order to have safe space, you got to know how to hold space, right? So holding space is literally right now what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Giving people room and opportunity to grow, to vent, to talk, even just to listen. You're still holding space, even just being silent. So I think what it means in the concept of a safe space is you're not coming with any of your prereqs. There's no judgment. There's, you're really not thinking, really giving that person the freedom to do whatever that they need to talk and vent about, and to be most vulnerable without any consequences.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Jolie, the Health and Wellness Coordinator at the Colors organization. Colors was established in 1991 to serve LGBTQ people of color, especially those of the African diaspora, with a safe space. Today, we're going to be talking about safe spaces, about how to be safe for each other, how to be safe enough to learn, safe enough to love. Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of this and why it's important to provide it for our diverse community. So I'm going to allow my guests to introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, what's up, what's up? My name is Stuart, but y'all can call me Navy. I'm glad to be here to have this conversation.
Lovely, lovely. And what are your pronouns, Stuart?
He, him.
Period. My pronouns are she, they. Come on now, establishing the safe space.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So let me ask you this first question. Can you define the concept of a safe space? What does that really mean?
So I guess for me, like what I think a safe space is because space you can get anywhere, right? So in order to have safe space, you got to know how to hold space, right? So holding space is literally right now what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Giving people room and opportunity to grow, to vent, to talk, even just to listen. You're still holding space, even just being silent. So I think what it means in the concept of a safe space is you're not coming with any of your prereqs. There's no judgment. There's, you're really not thinking, really giving that person the freedom to do whatever that they need to talk and vent about, and to be most vulnerable without any consequences.
I like.
I feel like once you start adding the consequences, that space is no longer safe. Now you're holding back, now you're keeping in, and that's not the goal of having a safe space.
You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like when you are you have to show yourself to be a safe space. You have to show yourself to be a safe person.
Right.
And that can encourage an actual physical space to be safe.
Correct.
Yeah, I feel that. That's really deep. How or in what ways have you seen the Colors organization serving as a safe space for you or for others?
So I've gone to Colors a few times. So actually Tony.
Yeah.
So I went to one of his, he facilitated one of the men's group.
Yeah.
And I think he did a great job of holding space because there he was, facilitating topics that might be a little more sensitive to talk amongst friends or others. But he really focused on, in that space, just making sure that whatever came out in this room, it's going to be safe, it's going to be held, and it's going to stay in this room. Right, so just that off rip kind of gives you the freedom to be more vulnerable, to talk about things you're not talking about with your friends and family. So I know in that way that Colors has really opened up that space.
Yes, he's talking about our Men of Color support group, which is every Wednesday, the first and third Wednesday of the month, and it's really impactful to me even hearing you mention that that's how you were introduced to us, because now you're a member of our community advisory board, like getting more involved from a leadership perspective as well, which is really what it's all about, like creating a safe space as well, so that the people who are introduced to us as clients and participants then are pushed to be these community shakers and movers, like you're doing, literally being on our board. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Pleasure.
So what has been the most significant personal development that you've experienced since identifying a safe space? So like, when you found, either it could be Colors or somewhere else, when you found that safe space, how did it propel you in the right direction?
So I can use my mom as an example. So growing up, my mom and my dad have always had completely different views on life. That's why they're not together. Shout out to them. It's like, nah. But my mom, she's always been really good at holding space. And I think as I got older and started going through my own coming of age stuff, I think my mom really, in her own way, developed how to create a safe space for me, right? So growing up, it's like, oh, I don't want to be honest. My mom's like, you know, you can talk to me about anything. And then you go tell her like, well, yeah, mom, I had sex for the first time. And now she's flipping out. And she's like, oh my God, da da da. And it was like, yeah, it's not a safe space anymore, right?
It's not a
so
safe
now
space.
I'm not talking about it
Nah.
anymore. But over the years, she kind of learned that, like, and maybe before I even learned it from, that in order for her to know what's going on in my life, then she had to learn how to hold a safe space. And over the years, like especially as I come into my 30s, my mom has really done a really good job of doing that, and I value that. I practice that. Yeah.
Nice.
Did I answer that question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Your mom is your safe space, and that's really real to say that. That's really like, I mean, also very beautiful when I'm thinking about Black men and how sometimes it's very difficult for them to be vulnerable, to be sensitive, to open up. So thank you so much for sharing that. Like, that really means a lot. Shout out to your mom.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to NayVEE's mom.
Shout out to moms.
All right. So can you discuss also the significance of creating safe spaces specifically for LGBTQ communities of color? And why is it important to prioritize safe spaces for this specific community?
So I think creating, holding, and having safe spaces for that demographic is super important. We're right in the center of an intersectionality, right? So not only are we LGBT plus, right, and we're colored.
Okay.
So with that, you know, like, okay, so you have the color experience, right, that has its own ups and downs, right? And we can share those with family, with cousins, with friends to a degree. Once you add the LGBT, that's a whole different realm, right? You can share that with like-minded people, maybe older people who have gone through it, right? You know, growing up, it was always like it gets better type message. But as you get older and as you go through your own life, that's a constant intersectionality for us, right? So I'm going to the story, I gotta worry about, am I gonna be okay being Black in this space?
Yeah.
Once that's cleared, am I gonna be okay being queer in this space? And am I going to be okay being Black and queer in this space? You know what I'm saying?
Now, I don't want to feel attacked for being in the space of myself, being in this space as well.
Correct. So with that, each of those different groups all have a bunch of highs and lows. Now we're combining them. So I think it's very important for our demographic to have safe spaces to talk about it, to vent about it, to share best practices, to share what didn't work, to share how we overcame, to share what we're going through so that we're not left out in the healing process.
That's very powerful. Yeah, don't want to be left out of that healing process. So in what ways can Colors and other community organizations improve to continue to provide these safe spaces? Like I said before, Colors has been around since 1991, has been the first Black LGBTQ organization in the city of Philadelphia, specifically talking about issues that affected Black queer people. How can we continue to improve, and how can other community organizations who are watching this continue to improve to provide those safe spaces?
I think it's very simple. I think like how I got introduced to Colors, right, was coming to that men's conversation. It's having more situations like that that are on like a one-on-one or a small group, and keep it simple, right? So don't overcomplicate it. Just try to keep it simple, ask very straightforward questions. They may be the hard questions, maybe the easy questions, but try to keep it simple, get to the goal, heal and move on. And just making sure that whatever space that you're doing it in, that it's safe and that it's welcoming and it's comforting, and knowing that, like, if I come into the room and I'm having a conversation with you in confidence, that conversation is going to stay in confidence and I can walk away and heal from it. As long as we ain't doing nothing detrimental to each other, we're gonna grow. We're gonna get there.
Okay,
right. I live by this quote: is do whatever you want, just don't hurt other people.
Okay.
That's it.
Period. Do whatever you want, Just don't hurt other people.
That's it.
Let's take a minute and talk about ensuring the effectiveness and inclusivity of our spaces. Let's really talk about that. What are some of the necessary steps an organization that's maybe watching this that wants to create a safer space? What steps can that organization take? And you kind of mentioned it already. Like you kind of talked about thinking about providing a space that is comforting, non-judgmental. Matter of fact, let's get to the real tea. You don't have to name no names, but when have there actually been times when maybe a space became unsafe for you?
That red table, gonna get you every time.
Okay.
Okay, when a space is not safe, that's right off the tip, is feeling like what I'm about to share with you ain't gonna stay between us. If my tea becomes gossip, okay? Or if you say things like, I'm not judgmental, but your face is saying I'm extremely judgmental, right? So I guess to answer that question, in order to create a safe space for an organization or for yourself, start with yourself, right? Check yourself, and I mean check it hard, right? Whatever you got going on, check it, right? If you're judgmental, think about the predicaments that person's went through, and have you gone through that? So are you in the right place to have that type of judgment, right? Check yourself in disagreeing with the way that somebody may be going about doing something, because even though that may not have what you would have went through or did it that way, that's not the goal of someone opening up to you, right? They might be seeking guidance or seeking help. The last thing they need is someone with a pre-idea of what should have went on. Just focus on the present. And just try to come in there with a blank slate. So I think for organizations to create safe spaces is making sure that it's drama free. How do I say that? Like it's just no drama. Like I'm coming here to heal. I'm coming here to vent. I'm coming here to grow up. I'm not coming here to do anything else, because then it's gonna kill my spirit. It's gonna kill me, and that's not what we're trying to do.
As we come into these organizations and as we're thinking about from the employee standpoint to the client standpoint, clients are coming in with a variety of experiences, whether it be depression or PTSD or dealing with dropping out of high school or being kicked out of your home. It's like the last thing that they need when they're in that vulnerable space is to feel as if they are being judged or picked on, picked apart, or that they're giving a serial number and they're put into a file. Like people want to feel like people. And that's the whole purpose of also what I'm hearing from your response, the importance of building relationships,
Yes.
Yeah, because
and I think we have people that do come into organization at a really good spot, right? So everyone might go through something, but not everyone's seeking to get help from it. So when people are coming to Colors or other organizations and they're seeking that out, they're literally, and they may not be saying it, but they're asking that I want change, I want to be different, I want to heal.
Yes.
So we're, as an organization like Colors, we have to hold that with very soft hands and take that in we got to hold it lightly, but that's heavy work that's bringing in. But that person wants to heal. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. The last thing we want to do is make someone feel judged, less than, another number, when their main goal was to come here and heal. Their main goal was to come here and get help, to get guidance, to know what they didn't know so they can do better the next time.
Come on now, so that we can pour into them. Yes, T. All right, well, please tell us, what is one last thing that you want our audience to know about you? Last tidbit of advice or last tidbit about something in this conversation?
It's funny that we're talking about safe space, because actually every time someone calls me, I say, hello, this is a safe space. And I just want all my friends and loved ones, family members to know that when you're calling me, you coming here to leave better than how you felt.
Just like church.
Just like church. Woo! But
Amen.
I ain't a preacher. And actually, me and my friends, we have a rule right now that, because life is beginning to be a lot. We're coming into that point where we're having families and kids and all that stuff. But I think the stuff that we went through, sometimes it feels like I don't want to be a burden to somebody. So now I don't feel safe enough to come and always talk to you. So now we have a rule to make sure that whatever you got going on is going to get heard. You got 8 minutes.
Yes.
Practice your 8 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So you call me up, you got 8 minutes. You know, I'm busy, I'm driving the kids to work, whatever the case may be, but I'll give you 8 minutes to vent, to talk, to do whatever, and we're constantly holding that safe space. And I think that because we practice that, me and my friends, like we've learned to handle situations as they come up a lot better than we did. We're not flipping out like we used to.
Period. And you know what I got from that? I got that sometimes also the impact and the gravity of holding a safe space can be something as short as a phone call conversation.
That's
8
it.
minutes. It can just be something like that. And
Yep.
it can mean so much to each other as a community, whether it's from an organizational standpoint or even in your own friends and family lives. So thank you so much, NayVee,
No, thank
for sharing
you.
your experience today, for holding space with me. I hope you felt safe in this space today.
I did.
And please tune in again. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on The Conversation at Colors, okay? It's been wonderful talking to you. I hope you stay wonderful and have a lovely, lovely rest of your day.